So Damian, if we go back to the sequester as the starting point, and you forget about the details of that little argument, it did feel to me this week that the environment was sort of back to where it was right around the election, in which everybody's now retreating again to their corners, and the conversation becomes sterile, and polarization, the reality of polarization starts to sink in. Maybe I was naive and thought that it would be different, but it didn't feel very different.
You're absolutely right. And actually, we saw Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson, the kind of budget hawks, came out this week with a kind of a, Bowles-Simpson 3.0. And the reason they did it, they said, is because they feel like everyone's going back to their corners and just going back to their old talking points again. I mean, we're definitely in a situation where we're talking about taxes, no taxes, entitlement cuts, no entitlement cuts.
It's your fault. No, it's your fault.
Right.
Well, that's really what got me this week. It wasn't just like, well, we're going to agree to disagree. It was like, we're going to spend a week saying, it's your fault. No, it's your fault.
Yeah. And we've always had a gang of 4 or 6 or 8 or something, like messing around in the corner trying to do something. There's nobody right now working on anything.
Do you think it'll infect the immigration debate? I mean, that was the one where it seemed like there's potential for a compromise.
You may have a different view. My view is that that's the one area that still seems walled off from this.
Only because they both have things to gain from actually moving ahead on it. Everybody else, I mean, on all the other issues, it seems like they've basically just decided we have more to gain from retreating. And it's just so interesting to watch that sort of attitude follow an election. I mean, you expect that in an election year, but sort of the repeat of 2012 now in 2013 is really interesting.
But you see, what I think happened on immigration was that the election and Republicans' problems with Hispanic voters made the politics line up with the economics of immigration. Because if you talk to people who think about immigration as an economic issue, the pluses of immigration usually outweigh the minuses in a rational sort of balance sheet calculation. That was always true, but the politics were in the wrong place. Well, now I think the politics and the economics have lined up on immigration, and that changes things. And I don't think that's subject to partisan recrimination so much.
But the parties really don't trust each other here. I mean, I think one of the...
You mean on immigration or
no,
general?
In general.
Yeah.
So I think one of the consequences of the fiscal cliff resolution at the beginning of the year, where they did nothing on spending and raised taxes, is that they all came away angry at the others. Boehner at Harry Reid.
They felt like they got burned.
Obama. And so instead of building trust so they could go to the next step, they're just like, it's like a schoolyard fight. The teacher broke it up. We had a couple months off, and now they're at it again.
Yeah.
Right, but I thought what would be different, and the reason I guess I was a little more optimistic, is I thought after the election there would be more of a feeling that, well, we're not going to agree, but we're going to agree to disagree rather than trying to win each argument, and I don't think...
Well, that's what Paul Ryan told us what strategy was going to be when we did that interview with him, but that's not what's happened the last week.
That's what I don't...
I mean, one reason to have a glimmer of hope that there's going to be some sort of comedy is, the White House is going to bring forward a budget. It's going to get attacked by the Republicans, but they're going to do it. The Republicans are going to bring forward a budget. There's going to be some sort of process that they're going to try to debate things in a kind of a congressional Washington manner, and whether or not they get a deal at the end of the day, who knows? But it's not going to be this, last-minute, hair-on-fire type negotiation necessarily.
Well, process is a boring word, but I actually think Washington could do with some process here. Go back to the way, regular order of business, and agree on what you can agree on, disagree on what you can disagree on, and then leave it alone for a while. Yeah. I mean, maybe on nominations, for example, that's happening.
But even on nominations, we're seeing it get totally gummed up in a way that, I mean, I think that the conventional wisdom when the initial set of national security nominations came out was that Hagel was going to have a hard time, but Brennan, the nominee for CIA, was going to go through fairly smoothly, and to some degree, because Hagel could be the lightning rod, and how much vitriol can Congress really channel at once? And we found that there's actually a limitless amount of vitriol. and so now we're seeing Brennan get really gummed up too, and he's pulled from all sides, because the Republicans are still using this as an opportunity to hammer the administration on Benghazi, and a number of the Democrats and some Republicans like Rand Paul are very concerned about oversight of the drone program, and so they keep asking for these legal memos, and there's an enormous tussle just over executive privilege and things like that between the White House and Congress just on the Brennan nomination.